Hey, what's going on? Marcus back here again with our second edition of Utah Legends. Last week we went after Bigfoot. We all know how that ended. I ran away. This week I wanted to take it a little easier and go after something that I think is quite fascinating: treasure hunting. I'm sitting here with Mr. Floyd Mann, one of the world's most well-known and most respected treasure hunters. Thank you very much for sitting down with us.
I appreciate you guys coming out here today.
It's our pleasure. Now, I think a lot of people may be asking themselves, well, if you're so well known around the world and there's so many places in this world that are famous for treasure, why Utah?
I ended up in Utah 3 years ago on a mission to find some of the Utah treasures, which are some of the largest in the United States. I know of about 200 treasure leads that I'm going to follow up on in the next 10 years.
Now you say 200 leads. That's 200 leads just here in this state? 200
in Utah, and there's probably over 100,000 in the United States.
Our viewers, they're kind of intrigued by the mysterious, things that are maybe unexplained. What are some of the stories that jump to mind when people think of maybe cursed treasure?
Probably the most well-known treasure that is supposedly cursed is down by Kanab, Utah. That is where most researchers and most of the locals will tell you that the Montezuma treasure is buried. Now, the Montezuma treasure is when Cortez came into Mexico, took over in the 1500s. They spirited away all their loot, and we're talking 50 tons plus of treasure and church artifacts, and headed north with it back to their original homeland, which everybody believes is Utah. So down in the Kanab area, the major story is there's a set of lakes just north of Kanab that are cursed and guarded by about 8,000 ghosts of Aztec warriors, because it was common practice is after they secreted their treasure, they would kill all witnesses. The owner of that property sent some divers down.
Okay.
And that's an interesting story, and it's floating around the internet. It's not just a story, it's a true story. These divers were professionals, and 3 times they attempted to go down into this treasure lake where the treasure is supposedly hidden. All 3 of them came up screaming through the intercom, "Get me out of here, get me out of here, somebody's choking me, I see eerie spirits all around me, I need to get out." And all 3 of them swore they never wanted to go back in that lake again. Now, there's another story that I think people in Utah are aware of. They've heard of it.
Right.
It's the Lost Roads Mine.
Yeah.
Now, when the Mormons migrated to Utah, they really didn't have a well-financed expedition, but they became friends with the Indians, and the Indians liked the new settlers.
Right.
And they said, "Come with us, we're going to show you something." And they knew the white man loved gold, and they knew that the white man needed gold. So they took them and said, "You can have as much of this treasure, this gold that you want, but you need to assign one person from the church, and he's the only one that can come and get the gold." And that was Rhodes, and that's why it's the Lost Roads Mine. Supposedly, as the history books from the church and local historians say, this gold was just kept coming into the church, and that helped finance the whole settlement of Salt Lake City.
Unbelievable.
Now, when he died, his son was the next person that had access to this mine. Now, after that son died, we don't know really what happened. We can only speculate. 2 of the most famous outlaw hideouts that you hear about in your history books are in Utah. You have Robber's Roost and Brown's Hole. The 3rd most famous one you've probably heard of is the Hole in the Wall. The Hole in the Wall gang.
Right.
Cassidy, Sundance hung out in Utah. They were 200 miles apart from Moab up to near Vernal, up to Wyoming. And so 200 miles, if they were getting pressured by the posse here, they could always go up to the next hideout.
We've talked about some very famous names and a lot of things that you've looked into. Without getting, I guess, too specific, what are you working on right now?
Up and down the whole east side of Utah, I have about 15 locations that I've narrowed down to where I think there are outlaw caches.
There you go. Got it from the expert. The most fun that you can have. Take the family, go by yourself, do it responsibly, but maybe you can find the next Utah buried treasure. Thanks so much. Thank you, Floyd.
Thank you.
All right.